Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Philbeck. I'm the director of the Black School of Business, and welcome to the finance speaker that is here this evening. We're also joined through our YouTube channel, and we welcome all of our World Campus students who are out there viewing this broadcast as well. So this event, the Finance Speakers Series, is co-sponsored with the Financial Planning Association and the Financial Management Association, and I'll bring out representatives now from both of those groups to be able to do introductions.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Like Dr. Philbeck said, we're happy to have you here. This is kind of the jewel of the FBA going on. We have 4 individuals who are excited to talk to you guys, so they say, and have a lot of things that they're ready to speak to you guys about. So first off, I'd like to talk and introduce our MC for the night. Will be Aaron Philbeck. Aaron Philbeck graduated in 2015, majored in finance. And he also has attained his CFA, CAIA, CIPM. There's so many. And I'm sure there's many more on the way. After that would be Dan Kress. Dan Kress graduated in 2015 with Aaron, majored in finance as well. He also attained his CFP certificate and has passed all of the educational requirements to sit for the CFP, which I assume you plan to sit for here in the near future. Brad Prosper is also a 2015 alum. I see some classmates here if you guys can't recognize this. Graduated from Barron in finance and accounting. He also minored in applied economics. Very recently, Brad actually passed all levels of the CFA exam, so congrats, Brad. He is now working advisors in Pittsburgh. And lastly, Jared, if you want to.
Brenda Newland is a 2006 Barron alumnus, and she graduated with a degree in accounting. She has worked at Schaffner Knight in Minot, as well as McCarty Kerning, and she now works at PNC Wealth Management and is a CPA.
So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to our 4 panelists.
Thanks, guys. We're gonna do this panel discussion in 3 parts, and so we'll kind of go through each of these and pause for some questions, what you do. Next, we want to talk about hiring wealth management. So if you guys as students want to move into wealth management, what are some things that you should think about, things that you should do? And then finally, we'll take it back home with Penn State Barron. We'll talk about how did Barron help each of the panelists get to where they are today, and then any advice for you guys as students, things to do, things to get involved with, so on and so forth. So those are the 3 sections, and I'll be sure to pause every so often. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, interject, so on. So let's just start. Dan, we'll start with you. Where do you work, and what type of clients do you work with?
Yeah, so kind of like Andrew said, I work. We have a small financial planning services company here in Erie. We typically like to work with clients that are approaching retirement, so clients in their 50s or whatnot. I think typically for me on a day-to-day basis is a lot of client interaction, whether that's taking giving advice over the phone or being in a conference room with them, doing rollovers or fact-finding, things like that. I think our specialty, we always like to say we communicate simple solutions to complex problems. We don't make it more difficult than it has to be, and sometimes find that there's a simple solution to almost everything.
So I'm Brad Prosper. I work as an investment analyst down in Pittsburgh in a small shop, 10-person firm, so a pretty small team. I'm the only analyst on the team, so my role is to just go through all the investment strategies in the world, basically, and figure out what's the best for our clients. So it's a pretty broad role. But it's definitely of interest because the landscape's always changing and there's so many potential opportunities for you to invest in. So it makes it interesting on a day-to-day. As far as clients we work with pretty much anybody across the board, whether it's high net worth individuals, large institutions, endowment foundations, kind of runs the gambit. So it's pretty much across the board.
I'm Brenda Newland. I'm at PNC and I work in the wealth management. So PNC is broken up between PNC Investments, PNC Wealth Management, and what we call Hawthorne. Wealth management is kind of middle range. We work with clients 1 to 20 million And I do wealth planning side of it, so I work with an investment advisor and a banker, and we have a relationship strategist who kind of oversees the whole relationship. And then we have also the fiduciary side, so PNC can actually be fiduciaries for trust. And so I'm part of that team.
And I'm Aaron Philbeck. I'm a portfolio manager at the Joseph Group in Columbus, Ohio. Very similar to Brad, I work for a registered investment advisor. We have about $500 million in assets, primarily working with high net worth individuals. So liquid net worth of about 1 to 5 million in assets. And then we also serve as an advisor to some 401k plans. So we have a few manufacturing firms, construction firms, and car dealerships. So participants that are all the way from non-sophisticated to very sophisticated. So the next question, and I know that the four of us work in different types of wealth management firms. What is wealth management? And I guess how does wealth management apply to what your firm specifically?
I guess I'll start.
Let's start with Brendan.
That's fine. Just mix it up.
So wealth management for PNC means that we work with every aspect of the family. Being fiduciaries is our responsibility to take care of the money in essence, to make sure that clients are being good stewards of their own money, that they're not, overspending. We like to try to plan for their future, for their legacy, whether that is leaving money to their family or leaving money for charitable intents. So wealth management to us is literally management, not just here's some investments, watch it grow, hope you can retire. We like to try to oversee the whole picture and make sure that somebody will be successful in their life, mostly goal-based planning.
Yeah, Brendan hit the nail on the head with that one. So for the most part, it's just a holistic thing we take into consideration. So it's more than just the investment aspect on our front as well. So a lot of financial planning goes into it. A lot of going out and meeting with clients and certain things. So maybe it's a big life event for them. Maybe they're buying a new house or getting a new car or something like that. You go with them and make sure that they can get the proper financing or it's going smoothly, just to make sure that you take care of the client across the board. So it's just a holistic planning thing for individuals. It's not kind of
I'll answer this question as it goes. But yeah, so they kind of touched on everything from the advising point of it. I mean, from a client's standpoint, when they come in, I think a client's expectation answer almost any financial question that they have. Now, we're not like accounting or tax experts, but we have a good basis for taxes, good basis if they need insurance, a good basis for investing. So we kind of, as financial planners, you kind of have to be the jack of all trades, not necessarily be the expert in any one subject, but kind of have a good basis and be able to give advice on almost all financial topics.
And if you almost think for us, if you think of a visual of you have the investment management, the financial planning, that's what we get paid to do, that's what we fee on. But if you have that as the core and you have everything around it, from buying a car to life insurance to estate planning to a CPA who does your taxes, we as the core are trying to clients the different aspects of their financial life. So we may not do everything, but we know the people that are going to be best suited for those roles. That's good. Brad, let's start with you. Why did you move into wealth management?
So I always wanted to be a teacher of some sort. So I looked at this role as something where it's like, hey, I can help learn how to be better suited with their cash or with their investments, whatever it may be. So I've always been passionate about trying to teach people how to take care of themselves. So that and then my skill set was just kind of aligned with finance. So originally wanted to do accounting, but took a finance class and realized that, hey, my skill set's better suited towards the finance side. So just kind of a melding of my two passions, which were helping people being able to help them grow their cash and retire someday.
For me, I guess, the obvious thing is that my dad does this for a living, so why not? But I think, I tried other things first, had internships, other places, but kind of like what I was saying, I enjoy helping people, and with financial planning, there's that direct impact of looking across the table and either convincing somebody they can retire or helping them get out of a situation that, teaching them ways to save money on taxes. So there's a real benefit from that. I've always enjoyed like a direct impact. And I guess, what originally led me to this field was being good with numbers. So I think I enjoy the whole financial planning aspect of it, going through, a plan with somebody and breaking down, rates of returns and things like that. So I've always enjoyed that.
I'm kind of a nerd. I did taxes for 8 years and I love taxes. I really enjoyed doing it. It's putting together a puzzle and I find it interesting. And so I didn't like public accounting hours anymore. So I kind of wanted to do that. So I went into private industry accounting and felt that was kind of boring. It was kind of like a mundane thing all the time and I was just kind of bored with it. So I reached out to some resources that I had known at FNC and said, hey, I saw a position posted. Can I get this? Because honestly, at the time, I didn't really know. In accounting, you don't really talk about those things so much. You don't really go down the road of finance so much in the whole particular people, the CPAs do. So I found out about it and I did some research and I got the jobs and now I really like it. And it's back to putting together that puzzle. So you had said putting together the taxes and the investments and the insurance and looking at every single one of it. Together a puzzle and kind of put somebody mold their life and put them on a good path. And so, I like to research things, I get all into it.
Yeah, and very similar. I like the analytical side of things. I like finance and numbers, but I liked the impact that's going to apply into a client situation. Very similar to Brad, I think one of the funnest parts outside of the actual analytical work is going out to some of our 401k participants that they don't know the difference between a stock and a bond, and you can walk out there and really have an impact in terms of education and financial literacy. So, if we go out to a construction site, we can explain, here's why you should contribute to your 401k and why this is an actual benefit for you. And then, let's get into the investment. Whereas, maybe a more fluent person who understands this stuff, as you're explaining things, it's not as much of an impact. There's people that really don't even have a basis. You can really want the education plan. You guys actually kind of answered my next question, which was more career path. So we'll go on to the next one. With you, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently and what would you do the same?
I guess for differently, I guess when I first had an internship opportunity, I had the choice between working at GE and working at it was a federal credit union as an intern. The GE, just because I felt like that was a better opportunity. Looking back, and I think I should have went the bank route. I think it would have been good to have, get an internship if you can feel that you want to be in. I think part of it was money. The one paid like half as much as the other one for me. So at the end of the day, I almost wish I could go back and say, hey, I want to work in something where maybe I'll work something and make sure I like that. Now, obviously, I had a good experience at GE and learned some things, but it would have been nice to go somewhere where that might have applied to me later.
So, to do the same, the internship was great. I did 2 public accounting internships. It was fantastic. I kind of knew that I wanted to go into that route, at least to start, and getting connections. So I ended up with my job at PNC so many years later from getting a connection that I got in my early 20s that I've never thought that, I don't know, however many years later, let's say 8, 10 years later, that would have ended up turning around and paying off. I attended a Young Area Professionals event and met a couple of people and just kind of always continued to see these people around, and you'd be surprised in a town like this place how many times you continue to see those people and keeping those contacts. Networking is bigger than you think that it is a lot of the time, the impact that is. Differently, I would have, let me say at least 2 things that I would have done differently. One is I would have paid more attention in economics. Hated it, hated it. And it ended up being a CPA exam, and I struggled because of that, because I didn't really pay attention. I kind of slid by in that class, I don't really know how. But I got through it, and I hated it. But now I realize how much it matters in every day, not even in regard to finance with clients, but even in my own every day and what's happening in the world. So paying more attention to economics and what's happening in the world, I now feel like I'm kind of behind compared to some other people, and I'm trying to catch up now. Another thing I would have differently was I would have gotten my initials a lot sooner. I didn't get my CPA until 10 years after school. I went back. I had somebody come back and I went to lunch with with an old manager of mine, who I know from Chapter 9 and who I no longer work with anymore, and I was like, I just don't really know what I'm doing, blah, 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 and he's like, go back and finish it. He's like, I know you want to, I know you can do it, like, get it done now. So after like my little bad smack I got from him, I went and did it, and I put in the time and I put in the effort and got it done, and it has paid off tenfold. So to get out of school, even though you're like, oh, I just got done with school, I wanna go do all these fun things, it's like, don't, like, get it done, seriously, it's so worth it and it pays off. And I think that even my return on that, I think that, I'm in a great position now, but there was a couple of years before I had that I could have been paid a lot more, and I could have been a lot further in my career had I gotten it done in advance. So it's totally worth it, 100%. It's hard, but do it.
Try to follow that around.
Yeah. That's a tough call. We're thinking alike here too, because mine was also to build out my network earlier in my career. So I started working when I was like 12 years old, and I worked as a janitor for over 7 years. It's really just a blue collar work ethic that kind of got me to where I am. So in terms of like changing that, I wouldn't really change the experiences I had to go through to get there. So it's like, hey, you kind of got to scratch and claw your way to get to where you want to be anyways. So I figured that was a kind of a good experience for me to go through early on. So I thought that was pretty cool. I guess the one thing I would change is like I would probably take an internship opportunity to take advantage of it. It wasn't able to at the time, so I just needed to pay. So I was just like, yeah, I can't take on an internship to work, like night shifts and stuff like that. So I wish I was able to kind of do that and build out my network a little bit better. Because you'd be surprised that you run into the same people repeatedly over time, even if it's like 6, 8, 10 years later down the road. So it's pretty cool to build out that early and see it kind of go off. So yeah, definitely take her advice on that one.
And even in addition to that, with the whole networking thing, I think learning how to talk to people. I'm terrible at small talk, and so having to go to some of these events where you're doing like the serial networking and you're not really having any kind of deep conversations, but the fact that you had that FaceTime with that person that will remember you, being less awkward when you have those more opportunities like going to the CFA Society in Pittsburgh, any of the networking hours that happen here through the clubs, business. I think just learning how to have a conversation, that's very valuable, and I think that's something that I learned as I was starting my job rather than what I could have done. So let's talk about designations. I know you hit on it already. Brad, let's start with you on that. How do designations impact what you do? What do you have right now, or what are you about to get right now? And what are you considering pursuing?
So designations in general, they just kind of give you more credibility, whether it's from clients or from other people in your industry. So for me, in the investment industry, the CFA is kind of the gold standard. So that's kind of one of the hardest tests out there to pass. It's one of those things where you have it, people really respect you out of the gate. So I luckily passed level 3 to it. So finished up with the test requirement. I now need to finish out the work experience. 48-month work experience requirement for use of letters. So I have to wait a little while for that. But on that front, the CFA program is great. They offer scholarships and things like that to kind of get started level 1. So you can take advantage of one of those. I did. It was awesome. It was kind of the gateway for me to find a role after graduation because I was already pursuing it. So it was really helpful for me from a career perspective. And after that, probably going to go sit with the CFP exam sometime. So maybe next year at some point. Probably got to do a little bit of study.
So I have a CPA license, like I said, I didn't do it until like 10 years after school, which made it that much more exciting, to say the least, yeah. So it took me, I tried it right out of school, but I wasn't focused enough on it. I didn't know how to spend a whole bunch of money and failed every time, obviously. So then 10 years later, I went back and Mercyhurst offered some prep classes for it that I assume they still offer. I don't know if it wasn't that long, so they were really great. And that helped a lot. It took me 2 years, which is, I guess, pretty normal for that exam because there's 4 sections to it. Once you pass one, then you have I even forget this one, 18 months to pass the rest, and it's all these things that you guys can read about online. But So I ended up passing that exam, and it was definitely the thing that launched me into the career that I have now. I don't think that I would have gotten the position that I have now had I not gotten at least some sort of initials. I did not have it actually when I was in public accounting, which is, you know, a little bit of the other exam that I am working towards or have already tried was the financial planning exam. I was telling Aaron before we started the conversation, he's like, we don't have to score if you fail. I'm like, no, it's cool, I own it. You know what I mean? I failed, you have to. And if you talk to anybody, and I'm sure anyone in this panel, you fail one of those tests, and it's like talk to someone else who's done it, it's like, that really, it just is a bummer. But people feel for you, and it's meant to weed people out. So don't be one of those people who they weed out. Like, people try harder. I had an old, another old manager of mine said, it's not a race, it's a marathon. And it really is. It's like they try to beat you down, like how many times before you get back up and do it again. And like, it's a 75 to pass the CPA exam. I mean, I got a 74 twice. It's like, at some point, you're just like, this is just a money making scam. You know what I mean? And you get mad. It's like, I'm not spending any more money or time on this, you know, I'm not giving them my money anymore. And so it's really what you feel like. So don't get to that point, you know, and you know, all you need is a 75 to pass, and you eventually can get there. And I'll tell you what, I opened up the exam score laying in bed that morning because I knew they were going to be posted, and I just cried because it was done, and it was like such a relief, and you're just like, you can't even believe it. It's just like a beautiful day.
For me, I don't have CFP yet. It's one of those things where I just have put it off, and I guess I now have time for it. We hired my brother. I'll do it. It's one of those things. We actually moved offices as soon as I came into the industry. It was like a huge overhaul and everything. But regardless, so what I do have a Series 7 and a Series 66. They're sponsored by FINRA. Want to sell securities or give advice on like stocks or make trades on them. You need 7. The 66 is more for professional money managers if you want to utilize those. What they are offering now, which is actually a major overhaul as of October 1st, is called the SIE, the Securities Industry Essentials Test. This is the first time they're going to roll out an exam where you don't have to be associated with the firm. So for anybody to take those series tests, you always have to be associated with the firm. For the first time, they're going to say, you can take this test before, you know, when you're in college still, or when you get right out of college. It's something you can put on your resume. In return, they're going to cut off half of the Series 7 exam. It's going to be 125 points instead of 250. And yes, one of my tests, I got a 72 and I needed a 73 or something. It was like 1 or 2%. It's just terrible. But yeah, so as far as CFP goes, it's like Brad was saying, it is essential at some point. Every client, you know, being able to put letters after your name or having to be able to say the word on the certified financial planner is huge. I think only 3,000 people take it, and only like 50%, or I'm sorry, they offer it 3 times a year. So each time they offer it, I think 3,000 take it. I think like 50% pass it. But kind of like the CFA, there's the requirement of time. It's like 3 years in an office. A CFP program, which Barron offers, which is big. There's 7 classes you have to take. It's basically integrated with the rest of your classes. And then, I'm trying to think what else? Ethics. And then a bachelor degree. So there's really 5 parts to it, but regardless, it's a big thing to have, and it's something I plan on getting in March. It'll be very helpful for me down the road.
As you guys look forward, and Dan, we'll start with you on this one. What does your career look like, and what's next for you?
So keep me talking. No. So my career, I guess the firm right now, our practice is, you know, kind of run through my dad, more or less. You know, he's done this for 25 and 27 years now. So all the clients, you know him as the advisor. So I think the idea is that we're kind of going to take him, you know, and get his, not only his current clients, but future clients used to us. And when I say us, it's my brother and I. So it's I don't want to say an overhaul, but it's the idea of, you know, a team approach. You know, we have other people on our team that can help you. It's not just Dan. So don't just call him. So for me, it's passing my CFP and then being able to, you know, obviously I do some appointments with Adam, but then there's some appointments where the, you know, clients think that he has to be in the room. He doesn't have to be in the room. They just have to start to learn that over time.
So for me, probably move into like a director of research role. So right now I'm number 2 in command. So as the only investment analyst, it's like, hey, there's nowhere else to go except to take the director's role. He's like 44, so it's not down for a long time. So yeah, somewhere probably along the lines, whether I stay with them, move elsewhere, probably the director's type role, or move over to a mutual fund company or something like that and be an analyst there. So, just work on individual stocks and bonds instead of doing that mutual fund world. So, we'll switch.
So I like PNC and I intend to stay. Right now, probably to move up to the next level for wealth strategist, continue to get a larger book of business, larger clients. I've been there a little over 2 years, so it's kind of just like a slow path right now, and I'm still feeling out the company a little bit, and kind of seeing what other avenues are even open as a possibility. But honestly, I really enjoy what I do right now, putting together the whole puzzle and picture. So right now, I'm kind of just moving up through the levels of the position that I'm currently in.
Yeah, very similar to Brad. I'm one of 2 investment professionals in my firm, so it's not necessarily, especially in a smaller firm, you don't have a ladder to climb, so it's more growth and scope, not necessarily job title. So, over the next couple of years, I'll probably take on more responsibility, probably into a director of research role as well. So, last question on this topic. If there's one skill that you could develop in the next 12 months, what would it be?
Truthfully, my background in comparison to my position I'm in right now lacks in trust in the states, and that's where I kind of need to build some more knowledge. And so I guess not necessarily a skill, but a topic that I'm trying to learn more about right now is the trust in the state side. So it's just a lot of research in that department right now, just learning off of my coworkers.
I'd like to learn how to code software a little bit. I know there's a huge difference between people that can't. So I'm definitely one of the people that can't right now. I'm just not knowledgeable on it. But I think it'd be really helpful from a career aspect, knowing how to do that. It can help with a lot of integrations between a Bloomberg terminal and maybe an Excel file or something like that. So it really helps kind of speed up a lot of the investment process and how to code things. So I think that's probably the next thing I'll try to learn how to do.
For me, I think it's just becoming a better the selling aspect. I think I'm good in customer service and be able to answer current client questions and things that, I guess of knowledge that I already know. But selling a product to somebody or convincing someone that they can retire are things that I can always improve on. I think when people started in this industry, they started on selling. That's all they did was sell, sell, sell. And now it's become more customer service based. So I kind of have to go back and say, okay, how do I really push a product onto a client if I feel it's right for them? Because that's not always an easy thing.
Stop here for a second. Anyone have any questions for panelists?
First of all, thank you very much for doing this tonight. This is absolutely incredible. If you're a student at Barron and you're interested in financial planning and you think that you'd be a better fit, your personality in a smaller to mid-sized firm, would you recommend obviously doing an internship in a smaller to mid-sized firm? That's where you feel you would do well. When you finish your education, do you recommend joining a smaller to mid-sized firm, or is it better to join a larger firm, get whatever experience, whatever training they may have, and with the idea of I'm going to roll that into joining a smaller firm in time? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. So I'm just comparing, let's say, my public accounting, which is a smaller sort of accounting firm compared to where I'm at right now. I think that to get into the smaller places, a lot of it is networking. A lot of it is knowing people that maybe work there already or have good connections to somebody who works there. To get into the bigger sort of firms, like let's say, for instance, PNC, yeah, I knew somebody there, but that didn't really necessarily help me get my job. You still have to go through all the channels of a big corporation in order to get into the So if you want to get into a smaller firm, go for that. It's not that the people there have any less knowledge than somebody at a bigger place.
Really?
So if you're able to get into a small place and, that's where you wanna be, I would say just go for that. Don't necessarily get into this big corporation. Oftentimes in big corporations, there's such a hard onboarding process to get in and to get integrated with the whole company, and there's a lot more red tape than
Right.
smaller companies, so maybe a little bit easier.
I guess if I was speaking on, the only thing I would say is I know some of my friends like went the AXA route, where they work for AXA as financial planners and they pass their FINRA test, and the AXA paid for them, and that's good. And they help them get some clients, but it's a little bit harder from that aspect. They do teach you some things. The best thing that ever happened to me, I know it's my dad, but the single best thing that's ever happened to me is being able to sit in a conference room and listen to him and watch him give advice to somebody over and over again, that to the point where I know exactly how he handles almost every situation. And I know that, we've talked with other financial planning companies, and it's the same way. To sit in a conference room with an advisor has such a big impact. And I think the other problem in the industry in general, there's a lot of small firms out there that were created 30 years ago, and they don't have people. They have themselves and maybe somebody who takes their phone calls for them, but they don't have a succession plan. So, it sounds crazy, but if you could get in there and just say, hey, I'll help you take your notes or anything, like they're scared, they don't know when to retire. They have all these clients, they don't know what to do with them. So that's a way with a lot of small firms, they don't have succession plans. So if you can get in a small firm, I feel like it's a good scenario.
That actually ties into the next question for the next section. Any other questions before we move on? Cool. So first question, why should students pursue a career in wealth management? So it looks like Dan already answered that for us. Get in and buy out more.
Yeah, well, people always have money, so there's always going to be like a need for somebody to advise them.
Is there anything else you'd add to that?
No, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't want to say there's always going to be a demand for us, or not just me or whatever, but financial planning in general, people are always going to need help with their money. So it's not like a shrinking industry anytime soon. I don't think there's too many advisors or anything like that. There are so many people who are reluctant to have advisors, that don't trust advisors. And I think that over time, the more people that talk about us, the more people are going to come in, and I feel like that's financial advising in general. The more complicated the investment world gets, the more people are going to be like, I can't do this myself. I need to go somewhere to handle it.
Yeah, so like I said, there's complexities within the investment world, so I think that's one thing where it's always interesting. So it's constantly changing. So every single day can be different for you in terms of like what you do and what you're looking at. So I think that's what makes it the most interesting thing for me, is that you can always learn. Like every single day is different. You can learn something new every day. So if you want to go out there and you're really interested in some other opportunity, maybe with fixed income, or maybe you're looking at economics or something like Brenda hates.
I like that.
So there's just so many things you can figure out over time. So it just really opens up floodgates for you, I guess, in terms of learning opportunity.
I think that people are afraid, people meaning people who are interested in going into wealth management are afraid of the whole robo-advising side of it. Oh, well, it's gonna go away, and they can outsource us, or it's gonna be taken over by a computer. And I can't tell you how many clients I have who have accounts that they started their own selves, and they finally get to a point in their own lives where they're busy, in their own careers where they don't have time to pay attention to manage it. But they finally come in the door and they're like, please just take it, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm afraid of it, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose it, I don't know really what I'm doing, so I don't necessarily think it's going to be something that's going to go away forever either. So I think it's a worthwhile career to get into. It's a nice puzzle to put together.
What should students keep in mind when they're applying for positions in wealth management? We'll start with you.
Okay. Keep in mind when they're applying for positions, you have to be personable. If you're gonna be sitting there in front of somebody, you have to be personable, you have to be sincere. When somebody is coming to you to manage their wealth, to manage their money, aside from handing over their children to you, that's their life savings, that's their life, that's their livelihood, that's their retirement. So it's very personal, it's very, you have to be very sincere and compassionate about that in a sense.
I would say, I guess, some jobs that you might see don't pay out maybe what you think, college education, was worth. I guess I don't know how anybody else applies, but it's one of those things where if you think a position could lead to something better, don't be afraid to struggle at first. I know that's like a really hard thing to say, but like there is such room to grow in some firms or some businesses. If you do a good job, they just need to get you in the door, and if you can prove yourself, within a couple years you could really move up in companies. And if you don't, then look elsewhere. But in this industry, it can be a lucrative industry at times, and there's money out there to, for good people, for people that are gonna work hard, I guess. So don't be afraid.
So one thing to apply, I'd say just do a lot of research on the company, the people themselves. So if you know specifically the people that you're meeting with, so you might have a name, just Google them. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Find their Facebook page or something, find a common interest you have with them. Maybe you're both Steelers fans and you're in Buffalo, New York or something. It's just hey, that's a common bond that is very relatable for people. So it's a personal touch, I'd say, overall that kind of helps you get through the gate. And that's really specific towards some of those smaller companies. So a lot of the smaller companies are about cultural fit. So if it's hey, they might really like you and think you're the most intelligent person in the room, but hey, you just don't fit the culture or they just don't like you. That happens sometimes. But that's one of the things to look out for is find some common bonds, just be a likable and relatable person, I guess.
I think, regardless of the type of role that you're going for, this is a people-oriented business. So, one, people are looking for a cultural fit, especially in the smaller firms, but how are you going to interact with your coworkers, and also how are you going to interact with end clients? Even if you are the guy that's sitting in the back corner that's not really client-facing, if a client walks in the door, you still need to be personable and have that good rapport and relationship with those people. Kind of hit on a few of these. Financial planning, taxes, investments. Someone who's coming out of school, should they specialize in one of these areas, or should they be a jack of all trades? I mean, what's really going to set them apart when they first enter the industry? And we'll start with Brad.
So I think if you know what you want to do already, it'd be pretty cool to kind of go and specialize. But personally, I like the jack of all trades approach because it leaves the door open for you to do a lot of different things. So if you try to specialize in one area, maybe that area becomes obsolete after a couple of years. Maybe technology kind of comes along and creeps up on you. That position just doesn't really exist anymore. In that scenario, you're kind of out of luck because it's you learned one specific thing that's no longer in existence. So I think going the route where it's more of a jack of all trades, having a strong foundation in all things, is really important. Maybe you can specialize in terms of, I know the foundation of 2 or 3 different areas, and I know this one area very well. So you can specialize in that front. But I'd say overall, you need to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, I agree. Typically, if you're going into an accounting or finance background, normally you kind of fit into that mold of the jack of all trades. You kind of you go into a little bit of either one of them, and I think the industry kind of understands that a little bit. And it's good to have a good foundation and base knowledge of everything because you're going to get everything thrown at you when a client's sitting in front of you for sure. And then typically you start to find the things that you do like a little bit better, maybe more than others. For me, it's more of the tax. So people come to me with those questions in the office. They typically have more knowledge, whereas somebody else has more knowledge on states. So you kind of will just naturally start to find the real fit within your company too of things that maybe you specialize a little bit more in, but you still have a good base knowledge of everything.
Yeah, there's not much more to touch on. I mean, for me, it's jack of all trades as well. Like I said, Barron's going to teach you a million things. It's going to be impossible to remember all of them. But having a good foundation in every subject, or a lot of subjects, it just can't hurt you because you don't really know where your career is going to take you or what you're going to specialize in. And like she said, like Brenda said, the client could ask you anything. You just never know what's going to come out of their mouth until they say it. And then you're glad you at least, even if you don't know their answer, at least you have something you can say that is, say smart, but something that you can at least say, hey, I know about this, this, and this, but I really don't know the answer to your question. I'm researching it back. That sounds way better than, I don't know what you're talking about. So, jack of all trades.
What would each of you say is a skill or a personality trait that most people would find surprising that you need to have in your current role? Does that make sense? Let's start with
I think again the passion behind it. You'd be surprised how many clients come to you so nervous that you'll find certain people with certain job histories don't really understand their money. I have all this money, I don't know what to do with it. And you need to have that compassion for them. Yes, this is your money and this is important and let me help you with that. And you need to be sincere about that. Like I said earlier, you really need to be understanding that this is everything that they have, and it's a really big deal.
So I think from an investment standpoint, you just need to be naturally curious. So you have to be the type of person where if someone asks a question and you don't know the answer to it, like Dan said, you let them know, like, hey, I don't know that right now, but I'll get back to you. I'll do a little bit of research and get back to you. So that's kind of the drive that you need to have. So it's kind of a mix of being driven and having just a curiosity. Because for me personally, if I don't know the answer and someone asks me a question, I want to know what it is. Like immediately, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I need to go do that right now. So it's kind of like it goes up to the top of your list. So I think that's one of the things you need to have in the investment space.
For me, kind of like the compassion thing, active listening, good communication. Every time you talk with a client, you gotta hear the question they're asking, and sometimes you gotta hear the question they're really asking. Sometimes they're two different things. They're looking for one answer. How you talk to them. One person wants you to be stern with them, saying you can't spend this, or things like that, or where this is gonna lead you. You're gonna run out of money at 85. Some people want that. Some people are like, hey, you really should just turn down your spend. Every answer that you have to know the person you're talking to. How to motivate them, how to convince them to go on the right path. It's not necessarily controlling them, but being able to talk to them and have a conversation, and them being receptive about it.
And we were talking about this earlier in the F&A club. I think people mistaken, so on the investment side, I think people think of an investment professional or someone who's dealing with the numbers and stuff to be, awkward and timid and kind of sits and does their own thing on their spreadsheet. But I think people underestimate the importance of being able to communicate your ideas, and not only internally with your coworkers, but also to clients, because every so often a client's gonna not understand a complex investment concept, and you, even though you're not client facing, speaking about me, might get pulled into a meeting and you have to explain in very simple terms what's going on with the markets or what's going on with that, that one individual investment that they're pointing to. So you have to be able to take a lot of the analytical stuff, but also communicate it very effectively in a very simple way. So I want to pause again. Is there any, this is kind of near and dear to your guys' hearts, any questions for the analysts on hiring or internships or job search?
So you mentioned that in case you don't know something about a client that they ask you, you go and research it. I was wondering if there was any special resources that you used to research about that topic, or if it was just something you do with research.
So a quick Google search is always one of the greatest things you can do, just for like broad knowledge. But for me personally, we spend a lot of money on research tools in our firm. So we have a Bloomberg terminal that you guys have here. So that's one of the ways that I can do a lot of really in-depth stuff. And Morningstar is also another way that I can do a lot of research as well. But yeah, a nice Google search, if you don't have access to those tools, will get the job done. You'll be able to figure out just a broad base what you need to know. Maybe you have a textbook on it too, so maybe you can look in the back and go to the glossary, fact check it. But yeah, that's
I think, I would say, I think important things that people forget is using other people. So networking and having connections. We have if we have a tax question, don't be afraid to call an accountant. That's what they do for their life. That's what they're an expert in. If you have an estate planning question, don't be afraid to call an attorney that you work with. So these people, although you think you're wasting their time to have a 10-minute, 5-minute conversation about something, they're boasting themselves. They're being the expert on something and they feel good about that. But yeah, using people, I think is a good resource, and that sounds crazy, but yeah.
I also say, oftentimes Google search as well, and just the only caveat to that, make sure you're looking at credible sources. There's a lot of opinions out there. There's a lot of people's opinions out there. There's a lot of false information out there. So, stick to the things that you know, like the IRS webpage, and stick to the right, yeah, the fake news. Stick to the websites that you know are credible websites.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any recommendations for those wanting to get into private RA in particular? Do you guys have any experiences where it's like, this is how you differentiate yourself, or maybe they weren't hiring, you reached out to someone?
Yeah, you want to take that?
So for me, since I do work at a small IRA or RA myself, answer your question, but for me it was mostly like a LinkedIn page interview. So it's like, hey, they put up a post on LinkedIn. It's like, hey, they're looking for an analyst. They hadn't been hiring in like 5 years. So I was like, okay, sweet. So I know there's no turnover in this place. I knew the culture was pretty interesting. I didn't know them personally at the time, so it was just kind of luck of the draw. They're all Italian and I'm Italian, so I think I got a little lucky there. But I'd say it goes back to just having a common bond with people. So if you can get your foot in the door, if you get past sending them an interview, maybe there's a screener or something to go through first. If you get past that, you get to the interview stage, you should be golden. Just find some common, just crush it. Like just lay on it. Don't let them know that you found it. That's what creepy. But just do it.
I think, we talked about it earlier, but the importance of networking. And I think taking advantage of the opportunities that Barron, because this is the perfect time to be building the network because you have the resources to go and meet different people. But the ability for you to go and network when you're not necessarily looking for that job allows you to build a better relationship with that person. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years or a couple of months, they have an opening and they are who you are. So meeting people, taking a genuine interest in who they are and trying to get to know them, I think that's extremely valuable.
So I was thinking, I was interested in finding out the path to working with extremely high net individuals with financial management. Is that something that you would just do a straight shot towards and focus on that, or is that something you have to go through the work experience with and build your in order to get into that?
I'll go. At PNC, you could certainly get hired into the offer group, which is 20 million and above. It's a completely different sort of management style, and it's a completely different sort of approach that they take to their clients. To have a foundation built behind you of better knowledge might be a good way to get in there. It might be an easier way to get in there though later on in the future, because dealing with people with that much money is a completely different experience. I mean, we had a meeting once with the Hawthorne group, and they were just telling us about what they do and things. And for instance, the one story that they shared was somebody said one of their clients called and was like, my daughter just left her purse on the train, deal with it, and just hung up the phone. Like, you don't know what's in the purse, you don't know what they're even talking about or anything. And then that's, you get just a different group of people, because people with that much wealth, oftentimes it's wealth that they have either built or they've obtained through their lifestyle of the family that they were born into. And it's nothing against them or anything, it's just a different sort of mindset to be able to live that way. And oftentimes they don't intend to deal with those sort of things. So that's your problem now. And it's just to be able to have like a base knowledge that behind you of large estate planning and large investments is different than the smaller stuff. In my opinion.
Just because people have more money doesn't mean they know more about it.
Yeah, definitely not.
Oh yeah, and then for us, I mean, it's different. Every person that walks in the door is a prospect per se. There are firms that have minimums, but you can't really. I mean, for a small firm, you can't start like that. It's been years and years. So it would be more of like, PNC. Yeah, if you want to get involved with them, they have the ability to kind of like have that, high net worth ability, easier. Where you could work for a bigger firm that literally has a group for that. With smaller firms, you're not going to find that typically.
Any other questions?
Were there any experiences that you got from Barron that you say, looking back, was a profound experience and you wouldn't be where you are today without that?
Perfect.
I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he has a sheet on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I went to the Barron Career Fair, and I knew that I wanted an internship at Chapter 9 because it was from Erie. I know I want to say Erie, from Erie, family Erie, like that. I wanted to be in Erie at Chapter 9. So I went to the career fair, and I probably spent 20 minutes at their table talking to them, just like you said, just finding common grounds and things to talk about, and just a lot of this little sales. And they left that career fair, and they went back and told the hiring manager for the internship my name, and I got the internship. And so without going there and having that in mind, I husband got the internship, and that certainly like launched me into my networking and getting to know people and all of that stuff, and just led the way for sure.
For me, yeah, career fair, like you said, there is a great opportunity there. Really make sure you devote a day to that, know what companies are gonna be there, research them a little bit, like, know the ones you wanna go visit, She wanted to go to Chaparral Minnow, that's great, she knew things and she researched them. Like, if you have a few in mind, like, know something about them, whatever it is, like she said, common ground is such a big thing. These hiring managers, all they're doing is looking at resumes that are basically all the same, when they go to hire somebody. If you actually talk to them, they can put a name and have a conversation with you, and they can put a face to the resume. That's such a big thing. The other thing, kind of like this is a good opportunity for you guys to meet us or meet. I'm saying not meet me, but I'm just saying when they bring in people, you never know who's hiring. You never know, what person you're going to shake their hand, and then you might apply to their the same workplace a few months later. So that's a good opportunity as well.
So for me, I'd say it was the investment research challenge. So that was something that really honed my skills in terms of being an analyst. So being more investment related, that was really helpful for me in terms of getting my career jump started, because then I had a work product that I could go around and show in interviews and say, hey, this is some of my analysis, this is what me and the team put together. Then we can kind of go through it step by step so that they can see the way you think about investing. They kind of get a feel for your personality that way too. So I thought that was really helpful experience.
And along those lines, the student managed fund that you guys have here on campus, you can't get much more real than managing real money. So having that experience, having to argue, your different thesis behind owning a stock, I think having that experience has opened the doors for multiple people. So I would recommend that. The other thing I wanted to add on the networking, the external networking is important, but also you have professors here that are either have a history in the industry or they know people in the industry, and so developing a good relationship with your professors can go a long way as well. We kind of talked about this. What clubs were you guys involved in when you were here at Barron? And start with you, Brenda.
I was part of the accounting club. Back then, we didn't honestly do that much. To be completely honest. And then we had pizza once or twice. That was probably about it. We didn't do too much then. To be honest, when I was in college, I lived at home, saved a lot of money by living in a home community, and I worked at Tinseltown, Best Buy, TGI Fridays, and all these places. My one professor used to laugh at me because I always showed up in my Best Buy clothes every day because I got up and worked at 6, and then I came to school. So I wasn't involved in that much. I worked, and I met a lot of people that way, and a lot of really good work ethic. There's a lot to be said for those jobs. They're really good.
Yeah, you realize pretty quickly what you do and don't want to do with your life when you're working a night shift or doing one of those jobs like TGI Fridays. It's just like, hey, I know I don't want to do this forever. So as a janitor, I was cleaning toilets at 2 in the morning, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. It's terrible. So that was pretty helpful for me. I was in the accounting club, and then I was on the finance committee for Engineering Without Borders. So didn't really do too much with either one of those, honestly. So probably should have been involved. I showed up for pizza like most of you probably. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Besides the investment research challenge.
This is going great.
This is going great. I'm gonna make nods. But yeah, for me, I wish I would have done more. So it sounds, right now after maybe some of you are here because you signed in, but it is so important, to just hear other people talk. It's one thing to listen to your professor and hear what they have to say, but just to hear what other people have to say is important. I also played basketball and here, and I, obviously I work for my dad, but the amount of jobs that I've seen, some of the people I played with, other alumni that played basketball that hired them. It sounds, you can't all play basketball, but to be a part of a club or to be a part of a team, if somebody else is a part of that team, that's only, if they're looking to hire, sometimes that's the first place they're gonna look. It's who's a part of that club? Did you, were you part of that club? And then just even if you had one thing in common, pizza parties, it sounds funny, but having a conversation about that is just something you share in common, and that opens the door to a conversation. That's the biggest thing when getting hired is just being able to have get it past that first step.
Well, I was really involved.
He was really involved, more than 3 of us.
Yeah, I was the president of the Student Managed Fund and the Financial Management Association. I was also in the jazz band, so that was a little bit outside of business, but it's the same thing. I mean, you're kind of, no one was in business in that one, obviously, but part of a team, learning to work with people. I'm still connecting with certain people today. But obviously, the involvement with the business clubs is pretty good. For the current students, and let's focus more on juniors and seniors that maybe they haven't had an internship yet, or they have and they're looking for other ways to differentiate themselves outside of the internship. What are some things that they should do as they get to the back half of their student career? Start with you, Darren.
So I guess what I touched on earlier, so you're just asking, okay, people are, so if you're looking to get into financial planning, I know it sounds crazy, but this SIE test, I would write it down. If this is something you're interested in going into financial planning, you're gonna wanna take this test. You're gonna be able to put it on your resume. Companies are gonna look at it. They're gonna see that you actually are committing to this, that you're not just, I wanna get into financial planning because I heard, make a bunch of money. Passing that test is a good first step. It's a test that they're gonna be required to. It's one of those first things you'll do.
I don't think we know what that is.
So it basically, kind of like I talked about earlier, so my Series 7 and Series 66 are, I guess the licenses that you need to be a financial planner, I guess in our situation, it's a little bit different depending on your role. But to be a financial planner and to have your own clients and to, be the rep on somebody's account, you either have to have your Series 6, which just says that you're able to give advice on mutual funds and trade mutual funds, or Series 7, which kind of adds the stock part of it, where I could, sell you a stock. And then the Series 66 gives me the ability to use like a third-party manager to professionally manage money. I know you want to chime in here, but so I can see him ready to chime in. But the SIE is saying, this is the first time where FINRA is coming on. They're saying, you know what? Instead of waiting to be hired by Access to take this test, hired by a firm where that's where what had to be. You had to get hired somewhere to take this test to even get yourself in the door to be an advisor. They're saying here's the test that's kind of before the Series 7. It kind of cuts it in half. It's cutting all the tests in half and saying you pass this test first, although it's adding a test. It's kind of taken away from the other tests. But it's saying you don't have to be associated with the firm. You don't have to work for Apps or anything like that. You get this done, you're going to look better, and you can touch on anything.
The finance program is looking at actually moving into SIE prep, so there's conversation going on now.
Just for context, so there's two different regulatory bodies in wealth management. There's FINRA, and then there's the SEC. So FINRA is what covers Dan's firm. We're on the broker-dealer side.
Yes, we're on the broker-dealer side.
On the broker-dealer side, if you're an RIA like Brad and I, are you covered by FINRA? Okay, so Dan and Brenda are covered by FINRA. Brad and I are covered by the SEC. So it's just a difference. So if you're covered by the SEC and you're going to a registered investment advisor, you don't have to take any of the series exams. You're covered under the fiduciary, whereas FINRA, there's some other licenses that you have to get. So as you're looking at different firms, knowing that difference, you might want to check that out.
Do you know I don't really know the percentages, it's like an open question, but the difference between, or not difference, the percentage of people, like firms that are broker-dealer compared to RIA, would you say 50-50 or would you say? I'm not sure either.
The trend is going more towards RIA.
Okay. Because I know a ton of advisors who are broker dealer, and I'm sure you know a ton of people who are RIA. They both kind of do the same thing a little bit, but
yeah.
No, I guess
we won't get into that for this.
It's a little.
Yeah. Brad, why don't you?
What was the question?
I started talking too long and then she asked a question. It's my fault. I'm a talker
As
here.
a student, what else would you do? As you get near the end of your college career?
Yeah, work on the soft skills. So just being able to speak with people, it's really important, regardless of who they are. Like they can just be like, you can go to the grocery store, just talk to the bagger or something. Just have a conversation with people. They don't feel so much in interviews. Just being able to be really fluid, to speak well, just be articulate by nature. The other thing I'd say is just utilize the Bloomberg terminal that you have. It's a really expensive machine. So, I mean, if you're going to go into the investment side, and you have just like very broad-based knowledge on the terminal, it's like, hey, I've used it like 5 times. Like people are impressed by even that, just because you have some exposure to it, so you know how it works. So I'd say get a little bit of experience there. I think they still do like certification stuff. So you take a couple exams on it, get certified. So that's a big thing to put in your resume. So I'd say probably get that done. Because, and that was one of the reasons I got my position, is because I had familiarity with it. So.
I was gonna say the same thing, in regard to, just don't be afraid to talk to people. So many people are afraid to talk to people, so be that person that can just go and say hello first. I mean, really, and be able to do small talk about the weather, for crying out loud, you know, everyone talks about the weather. Yeah, especially in Erie, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing too is be hard on yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. You know, I really beat myself up over those first few years of not taking the exam, or taking the exam, failing it, not trying hard enough, and just, you know, really beat myself up over that. And looking back now, it's like, I just wasn't ready to take it, to be honest. I just wasn't at a point in my life. I had, you know, personal things, I just wasn't at a point in my life. And so as hard as I was on myself at the time, I look back and it's like, it all worked out, you know, but I ended up being hard enough on myself to still continue to make that my goal and to get it done. So, you know, be hard on yourself to be driven, but don't beat yourself up over the little bumps in the road as you go along.
And I would just say, get involved as much as you can. You know, take advantage of going down to Pittsburgh for the CFA Society, Pittsburgh, if you're interested in the investment side of things. You know, I know the FMA does some field trips to different places. I think outside of just having the thing on your resume that says I was part of XYZ, actually experiencing that and learning how to talk to people and getting exposure and integrating yourself into that culture, I think, you know, this is the perfect opportunity. So that's all I have here. Any other questions on Penn State before we wrap this up? Excellent. Any final things that you guys would like to say?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot, I guess, as far as the industry goes. Just like Aaron was saying, don't be afraid, like, a lot of people graduate college, you know, a lot of people have good grades in college. Not a lot of people do the experiences and join clubs, and I can have something to speak to on that.
Yeah, I think I would just thank you guys for coming and listening tonight. So thank you for coming out. It's a big thing for us. So really appreciate that. We deviated a lot, but I think we got through a lot of pretty interesting subject matter for you. If you have questions, I mean, you can contact me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. Just hit me up. Just ask me questions or you can ask.
Find a common interest.
Find a common interest.
Good luck. I mean, it's a fun ride. You'll be surprised. Somebody told me one time that you're not the same person going into your 20s as you are coming out of your 20s. And literally, no truer words have ever been spoken. It's very true. To look back, like, wow, I can't believe it. The person that I've become.
Do you want to close this out?
Yeah, so I mean, if there are any last minute questions, we'll just have a couple minutes here of Q&A if you guys are okay with that. Does anyone have any questions here? Got one right there.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask this really quickly. Are there any significant networking events that happen outside of the school that students may be able to take advantage of?
You can handle that one.
I'm posting constantly about so I've got a 15-seater van heading down to Pittsburgh October 1st, and it's posted on Canvas Pride. It's posted on the Facebook page for our finance program. So I take people down there every month, down to events down in Pittsburgh, and I mean, we basically the mission is we're socially aggressive. We get down there, we set up. Margot can testify to this too. She's ever running the table. But basically, you get a chance to really interact with the individuals. We do not sit together. We scatter. We make sure we've got an analyst in between. And I used to say you can't get back in the van unless you got one business card. That's your admission pack, but we wouldn't leave anybody in Pittsburgh. But again, those opportunities are, you know, be looking for those things because there's we do a ton of these things. So thanks, bud.
The Young Professional Group is still a thing. I don't think that you necessarily have to be to really be a professional yet to be part of it. Can't say that I've gone to an event in a while, but it's possible.
I think they have one here, right?
Yeah, they actually came here last year because they want college students involved in it. And so they have like 200 members and they do all these really cool professional events. It's a great way, especially, you know, in the area to practice your skills, but especially if you're thinking about staying here. It's a tight network here in the city. It's a great way to get to meet a lot. Everybody knows everybody here. Everybody.
3 degrees. 3 degrees.
To conclude here, everyone, we want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening. We can give one big round of applause to Brad. Final announcements, like I've said multiple times, if you guys have not signed the sign-in sheets, they're down here, so catch those on the way out. I'm sure these four would love to talk to you, or if you have any questions or just to reach out, say thanks. They'd love to talk to you. So enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much.